Hey, you're right. So basically, it's just a matter of perspective and knowing what you're looking at when you're looking at it. Really, um, if like historians probably will know this, but not many historians are lawyers or really engage with the council that much. Um, this is like a copy of the William Penn trial, really famous trial. There's a plaque in the Old Bailey on the wall, right? This is like the entire dialogue from the whole um, hearing. Now, it was actually a criminal prosecution charge under the Tumultuous Petitioning Act. You can see there it was a tumultuous assembly, right? So it was criminal, but if you look at this, right, this is who is hearing this trial, right? And it's quite important to understand this, right? Although it's in London, right? It's in the city, and most cities had a charter with their own laws. Some of them had their own particular laws. This is where like bylaws come in rather than like the charter of the forest or the country or whatever. Um, but anyway, but the whole country, the model's pretty much the same. It's just that the formations are slightly variable. That's all. But you've got here Sam Sterling is the mayor, right? The mayor. Then we've got Theo Howell is acting as the recorder because it's a court of record. Then we've got Theo Bloodworth, an alderman. So these are your common councillors, your aldermen, right? All elected. William Peake, alderman. John Robinson, alderman. Richard Ford, alderman. Joseph Sheldon, alderman. And then you've got two sheriffs who are sat watching, John Smith and James Edwards, who probably did the arrests. And then you've got this Richard Brown guy, who I'm not sure, but there's no dialogue or speaking, I don't think, from any solicitor. I'm not certain what Brown's position is, but we've got one, two, three, four, five aldermen, common councillors, and the recorder, that makes six, and then the mayor. Okay, this is as well as the jury, and all the jurors are actually listed for this trial, although I cannot be bothered to get it out of the I'm just resting it on a chair. I'll have to get it out of the sheet, but there were 12 jurors anyway. Their names, you can Google them on the internet. It's a well studied and researched case, this, right? So what you got to understand, this is 1670, right? So you've got the mayor of in London, right? This is actually at the Old Bailey. Okay, there's a plaque on the wall. So what's happening here? Well, you've got the mayor and one six common councillors, one of which is acting as a recorder to record it all, right? But it's a criminal trial, but they got a jury at the side, right? Now, William Penn and William Mead were accused of petitioning in the streets, but with large numbers of people, a tumultuous assembly. Why? Because in 1661, this is 1670, 1661, right? They made an act so that if a petition's got more than 20 people, you had to go get permission, right, to do it. If it was under 20 people, you didn't have to get permission to do it. But the thing is, at that time, when you're doing a petition, you've got to understand the whole process of petitioning from the Magna Carta and getting the judgment of your peers, your fellow citizens, who are all signing a document with a claim, a suit to the government with facts and evidence, and they're all signing it, right? So you've got judgments reserved from your fellow peers while you're pursuing the suit for judgment before the authority that you're going to hear the case, right? Now, suits to Parliament, petitions to Parliament, claims to Parliament, right, are heard by the Parliament, right? House of Commons or House of Lords. Now, if you've got 20 signatures, then the petition is you're bringing a suit. You're not bringing a criminal suit. You're not bringing a civil suit. You're bringing matters of state, church, state, or law to the government, right? So it's your case. So you're the one prosecuting the case, bringing the case to the House of Commons, right? So you can't. No one can intervene in your case because you're already bringing it, right? You're already bringing evidence of what's happening, what you're doing, what, whatever, to the House of Commons, right? It's going to be attached to your evidence. Is going to be attached to your petition, right? Annexed, so it says in the archives, right? Now, it's done through the jurisdiction of a parliament because Parliament's got a jurisdiction, right? Now, what they did in 1661, because there were if there were large numbers of people signing petitions and all kind of acting like a very, very large body of people, could get kind of out of control because all those people would have the champity of the privileges of being involved in the proceedings. Remember, a lot of people did their own arresting, right? Because there were only so many sheriffs and constables, right? And bailiffs. So they weren't sheriffs to go around everywhere. So if you've got, and remember, at this point that you're arresting people if they owe you money, right? If someone owes you 50 quid, right? You arrest them. You go to the sheriff, you take your evidence, you say, this guy owes me money, he's not paid me, I want him arrested. They do a warrant, and then you go arrest them, right? Now, do the sheriff arrest them? Well, depends. Yes, but this is the thing. A woman is not going to go get a warrant to arrest two big blokes, is she, right? An old man or an old woman is not going to go get a warrant to arrest two blokes. A little kid is not going to go get a warrant to arrest two blokes. They're going to go get the sheriff to do it, right? But that's not to say that you couldn't do it. And remember, it was a legal requirement, right, for all of the village to assist apprehending criminals as well. If there's a warrant out for them, you see, once someone's reported and once you've got to go apprehend them, right? They stick the warrant. That's what the wanted poster's for, right? Once the sheriff has warranted it, right, it gets banged up on the trees everywhere around the village in the notices, right? And then any person has got a warrant to go and arrest them because it's been issued. Do you see what I mean, right? That's how it works. Now, if people are pursuing that person, they're not going to get arrested or prosecuted for apprehending them because there's a warrant out for them. You can use whatever force is necessary. This is the basis of the Magna Carta, the judgment of your fellow peers. Because, once it goes to court, right, all the matters are going to be heard. All the matters and facts and circumstances are going to be heard, including, what this person's done, what they haven't done, the evidence, the witness statements, and any facts or circumstances around when they were apprehended. So, if anything happens when you're apprehending them, were you acting to pursue that warrant. You know, what the sheriff had put out, you know, obviously if you were doing, then you can use reasonable force. So you're on the right side of the law. Do you see what I mean? Now, that's the basis behind the petition to Parliament. You are the claimant. It's your suit. In a way, like a suit of armor, freelance. You've either got a suit or you don't have a suit, right? If you've got a suit, you're pursuing a suit, and so to judgment, right? Now, if you're going for judgment to Parliament, that's where you're pursuing it. It's under the jurisdiction of the Parliament of England, right? Now, you can't have someone intervening in your suit when you're pursuing it. Do you see what I mean? You can't have, you know, a local sheriff, because it's you're pursuing a cause, right? And obviously it matters of the church, matters of the nation, the state, or matters of law, for the whole country. It is a lot more important than local crime. In a way, you are above the sheriff's local jurisdiction if you're pursuing a suit to Parliament. This is where you shift through different jurisdictions depending on who the claimant is in the suit, right? Now, the thing is, what Charles did, right, the first, is he said he made this law called the Tumultuous Petitioning Act, and he said that if there is more than 20 people going to sign a petition, right, they've got to go to a court and get permission, right? Because you're going to be accumulating a large body of people, right? Could pose a problem, right? An extremely large body of people, not only because of a large weight of evidence, but, you know, that they're going to be maybe pursuing getting more people to support it, or the, you know, so, or present it to the king, or to either houses of Parliament. So they said you got to go to a court, you know, to because they probably wanted to record all these people who are signing it, and, you know, basically put it through the book, so to say, rather than just, you know, 20 people walking around with a document that they all signed and sealed and then send it to Parliament. Just because it was a lot of people, you know. You get this thing called champety, where the petitioners are going to have privileges. The petitioners, in order to be able to pursue their suit, right, their cause with a legal authority, you know, you might get other people claiming that they're helping when they're not. You know, are people saying that they're, you know, this is the thing to so what they said is, right, you got to go to the court and you got to get 3 justices to sign the petition or consent to it, right? So they can check it all and make it be known on record what you're doing, right? Possibly even then it gets sent through the court to Parliament. No, it didn't have to be. It could either be 3 justices or a jury, larger part of a grand jury, right? So that's the public giving consent. So that means the public could give consent to the public. So if you've got a large, you know, body of people in the town, like 20 people or 50 or 100, who are they going to get consent from? Well, the public, you know. So they say to the public, the jury, oh, by the way, we're getting a large body of public to do this cause. Can we have permission? Or we're letting you know about it. Now, whether or not those justices consented or not, or whether the jury consented or not, but the thing is, right, this is kind of important for the petition, right? Remember, it says any 3 justices, right? And in the divisional court, at the assizes or quarter sessions, right? Now, this is the thing. There were justices going around, the King's justices were going around the circuits of England on the assizes with a random jury selected at each place. That's your assizes twice a year, or your quarter sessions 4 times a year. That's the King's justices going around on their loop circuits, right back to London again. You know, with maybe possibly with some knights accompanying them. And they call juries together from the random public. But then you've got your hundreds court, your divisional court. Now that's fixed in one place. It doesn't follow the king's judges, right? Now this is where this model here comes in. What is this, right? Well, you've got the mayor and these common councillors, aldermen. Well, what are they doing here in this criminal case? Well, if you actually start reading the legislation, even like only as far back as 1837, right? I've just been reading some acts from 1837, right? You've got, and even in Scotland, till way after, right? You've got, you're electing like your common councillors and your mayor, and there's going to be sometimes only 6 of them, sometimes 9 of them, right? And then a mayor who's like the chairman, but the mayor's the justice of the peace. A mayor is or supposed to be a justice of the peace, right? Because they're making orders. They're putting an order through. That's what they're doing in the council, right? Making an order. Let's see the evidence, right? Make an order. Let's see the evidence. Make an order, right? Or they vote on it. Can we raise the tax? Can we lower the tax? Make an order. Can I make my house bigger? Make an order. Excuse me, I'm bringing a case before the council, right? You know, can we buy this land, sell this land? Can we make this bigger, make this smaller? Can we do this? Can we do that? Get permission, consent. Now, they had these Jew-rats, like jurors, right? Now, they're elected. They're not random people called to be jurors like the assizes and quarter sessions on the king's circuits going round, right, for more serious matters, right? This is like your baseline level. So we're looking kind of like at the county court, magistrates court, council, right? Not the higher level courts. Now this is the thing, right? This divisional court, 100 court, right, at the petty level, at the normal level, it's doing everything, right? It's doing everything. Only your very serious matters, right, go to the King's Justices, the assizes and quarter session circuits that are coming round and calling random juries for very serious matters, right? Your common council, your 100, right, it is your baseline level, right, for petty fines, petty crimes, consents, levying money to fix roads, things like that, okay? And you've got these Jew-rats, right? They're jurors, but they're elected, and they aren't selected at random each time there's a assizes or quarter sessions from the electoral register. They're like sort of permanent, right? And they've got to know all the rights and all the laws and things like that, right? And this is like in this, right? You've got your 12 jurors, right? Although this is the Old Bailey, right? But it's still the mayor and the Common Council, right? But in the Old Bailey, you can hear serious matters because it's in London, and London's a little bit different because it's got a charter, right? But and I need to learn more about this, but I ain't had time because I'm just learning about so much at the moment. I can only do a bit at a time, but I'll get to filling in the gaps on it. But I'm giving you the sort of like, this is the briefing on it, right? This is just like the general kind of like snapshot of it all, so you can get an idea of what the situation is now when I explain to you, right? So, so this Common Council body, right? It's hearing all kinds of stuff. You got to understand that. It's hearing like, you know, should we raise some money from the public for taxes to fix the road? Can this man expand a field or build a water wheel or a mill or something? Or someone's committed some crimes, petty crimes, shall they be fined? Or this guy owes this other guy some money, you know, can he give evidence that he owes him the money? So they're hearing all kinds of stuff, but not too serious matters. Because if you've got a very, very serious crime or something, it goes to these King's Justices that are going around these circuits, right, at certain periods with a random jury, right? Now, this is the thing. So you could also, with this body, these aldermen, and one of them's the justice, like the chairman and the council kind of thing, right? They do have a jury, but then you've got these kind of common councillors. It's kind of like, like when you have three judges at the front. I'm not 100% certain. I thought these jurors ended up becoming the councillors, but it's almost kind of like when you've got three justices, like there's more than three. There's like all these aldermen, because normally they can vote or make decisions, but it's actually a jury who decide, right? If you've got a jury, sometimes they didn't have the jurors or jurats, right? But I think the aldermen and the common councils were meant to go like they do now and sort of potter around with members of the public and speak to people about certain things, and also do some work in the offices of the council, obviously doing the books and that. But when there's a judgments to be made, they're in the chamber, right? But you're supposed to have a jury or these jurats. Now, this is the thing. Obviously, they're going to hear petitions, because you're going to have local petitions. We want this, we want that, right? The petition really is the claim, the suit, the case. The petition is the petition always, like petition for divorce. The petition always is the claim, the suit, the cause, right? Whether it's to Parliament or to the local council or a complaint, a criminal complaint, it's still a petition, right? You can have witnesses, signatures, whatever, right? This is the thing. Now, so that means that they're hearing petitions in this body, in this council. So, you're going in with your petitions, aren't you? Right? Now, this is the thing. At some point, right, the assizes and they scrap the quarter sessions, and they change the assizes into the Crown Court, right? And the High Court, the civil division of the High Court, right? And the Crown Court. That's why you've got like your random jury in the Crown Court, right? But that's maybe the King's Justice's circuits, right? And you've got your High Court as well, but it's all in London now. They do some High Court stuff at the County Court, but this initial body we've got with the mayor and the councillors, right, and some, you've got jurors, right? Now, what happened to it? Well, they could appoint committees of 3 of the aldermen to hear certain matters, to hear appeals, right? If you appoint 3 of them, with the mayor or the 3 aldermen, if you've got 6 aldermen, right, and a mayor, if you appoint 3 of them to a special committee to hear this or that matter, that's like 3 justices of the peace. That's like 3 magistrates. Do you see what I mean? Right? And what they've actually kind of done, I'm not 100%, this is not like absolutely accurate. I'm just giving you like the general thing, because I've got to put some more time into it, but it's near enough right, this, right? Just so you can get an idea. What they've kind of done is they've split the body, the main 100, the main kind of like baseline local thing, right? Whatever you want to call it, common council or whatever, into 3, right? Permanently. So you've got your magistrates court with a committee of 3 justices permanently doing crime, right? And then you've got your county court doing tort cases. John Smith owes me £5, right? Or this company owes me this money, or I got dismissed unlawfully, or whatever, or this person's using my copyright for my company, or whatever, right? That's the county court, right? And then all the matters to do with, can I have permission to build a house, sir? Can I expand my garage, sir? Can I buy some land, or can we raise some money for repairing the roads, right? That is dealt with by the main body still, which is your mayor. But, now the mayor just walks around, with a finger around his neck, parading around. You've got your 3 from these aldermen, right? They choose who's going to be on the bench, right? They choose, they vote in who's going to be the head, like the magistrates or whatever, your council head, right? Your three, sort of like three justices, right? Who they put the orders through and they all vote on it, right? But there's meant to be a jury, right? Now, there was supposed to be a jury in criminal matters and civil matters, and people were arrested for civil. All civil was arrest. If someone owes you 20 quid, then you can go arrest them, or get a sheriff to give you a warrant to go arrest them. Now, we've all got a privilege now. We've all got the privilege not to be arrested for owing people money. And that's big, because none of the stuff in the county court, you don't go to the police station and get them arrested, right? But there was hardly any difference between criminal and civil. You go to police, right? So police now don't have anything to do with civil matters, but there was no difference between it at all, right? So if you want to petition Parliament, right, where are you going to go find a justice to sign to get your petition approved if it's like, if you want to get more than 20 signatures? Well, you go to the council, don't you? Because it's a justice of the freaking peace. It's a justice of the peace in the council, right? And your aldermen. So you get the head of the council to sign your petition, right? Because the council are going to be hearing petitions on all manners of things. When you want to get road taxes or whatever, you might want to oppose it. You did have people objecting to things for and against, but you can always have the petition. Now, this is the thing. The name for petition is kind of almost synonymous with a suit or a claim, right? But at the moment, we don't really have these. When you go to a magistrate's court, you don't think that they've got this kind of like slot, 10 minutes to hear petitions, or in the county court, 10 minutes to hear petitions, because the petition is the actual, all of the business, all of the claims that people are doing. Everyone's doing petitions because every single hearing is over a suit or a claim, right? Really, when you apply to the council, right, you are making a claim, right? It's Mr. Smith is making a case to the council that he wants to build his garage bigger, right? Okay. Now, the thing is, in the local council, right, whenever the council are meant to be voting on something or making a decision on something, when there's a hearing or an application, then they've got to hear petitions from the public over it, right? Even if it, as well as objecting to something, filing an objection, you can also petition. You can put petition in also in the sessions, right? Now, this is the thing, right? It's a little bit deceiving at the moment because you've got all these councillors in that chamber, but that's only because the council has grown big and it covers a bigger area and there's more people. Remember, you only really got these aldermen here, like about 6 of them, right? But obviously, as the town gets bigger and as more buildings get built and as there's more factories and as more people are having babies, then you've got, North Town, South Town, West Town, East Town, West Town, Little Town, Large Town, all these little areas of the, wherever it is you live, whether it's, Macclesfield or whatever, right? So you're gonna need more aldermen, more councillors, because there's more areas to oversee. So now you've got about 20, 30, 40 or whatever of them. So they're all sat there in the chamber, right? They can't all sit behind a bench, can they? Right? So this is them. But there's just loads of them, right? But it's never been and it never will be a Crown Court or assizes or quarter sessions, because it's the bottom level. It's the baseline, right? It's the bottom, right? It's the lowest level, right? There's just a lot of councillors, right? Because there's a lot of areas to oversee and talk about and make decisions on, right? When they're all assembled together, or they can kind of make decisions sort of by themselves, depending on what it is, and so forth, and that. But you go in there and get petitions. Now, this is the thing. Let's just rewind back, because it's a bit hard to wrap your head around when it's like the current modern council with all those councillors, right, in that chamber and members of the public going in to speak, right? Let's go back to this smaller model, right? Like in the 1837 Act. So when you've got, let's say they want to raise some taxes, they want to raise some money to fix the road because they ain't got enough money to fix the road, right? Or someone wants to, turn a field into a, I don't know, a castle or something. I don't know, right? They got to hear the evidence and make an order, right? Now, this is the thing, right? Firstly, if you didn't agree with the decision after they make, if you object to it, or even if you bring a petition from the local public or whatever it is, if the council make a decision, right, you could actually appeal it, and it could get appealed to a committee of 3. So the council is supposed to be able to hear appeals, and they're saying that they don't at the moment. Now, you might say, well, they've changed the rules. Well, fair enough, right? But this is a thing. Before the council make a decision, before he smacks his hammer down and makes an order in the chamber, or before the councillors vote on a matter, right? When you are doing this, shall we object or not, or shall we put a petition in or not, and you've got this time to hear petitions, right? Remember, it's only the Hundreds Court, right? Except they've split it into 3: criminal, council, and civil, right? But they're all the same. It's the same thing, right? They're just specialising in, sorting out taxes for roads and consents and permissions, right? That's all. Now, this is the thing. You can ask, because it's all in the justice system of England. It's all in it's all in His Majesty's government's framework and model, right? The King and his government, right? When you've got any matter in front of the council with these persons, elected persons, and they're supposed to have a jurats, but they've ditched it, and they've ditched the jury in the magistrates' court, and they've ditched the jury in the civil court, because they don't want juries making decisions. They want to be able to, these blokes want to be able to vote on everything, right? You can, because the assizes and quarter sessions is a higher authority, a higher level, with your random jury, right, when they're coming round the circuits of England, the King's justices, right, it's higher. It's a higher authority or level. Well, they're coming round to hear matters in that area. Okay, who's been very, very naughty now? Who's been so naughty that the magistrates' court can't hear it, right? You can say to the council with a petition, right? We don't want you to hear it here. We want it to be heard with a jury in the assizes, but it's called the Crown Court now, right? Because it's higher. You can ask for a jury to hear the matter, like, shall we redevelop the town centre, right? Because it's higher. You might not think it looks higher now because we've got all these serious councillors who've been elected, all these elections, right? So what, right? There's a hell of a lot of places around, right? They're still meant to be representing the opinion of their constituents, right? If you have a random jury of 12 people meant to be picked at random from the register, surely it's meant to represent the local area, right? But also, you see, you would put that petition in when you've got your slot for petitions, right? Because there's always a slot to your petitions. So what can you petition for? Well, whatever you want. The petition's a blank sheet of paper. You can write what you want on the blank sheet of paper. You say, right, we don't want it heard by the council. We want it heard by the King's justices with a jury, right? Or you can say, we want Parliament to hear it. We're petitioning Parliament, right? This is fact. Can we raise some more money for the roads? Well, we're going to ask Parliament, right? Or we want to ask, get permission from a jury in the assizes if we can raise some more money from the roads. Not these muppets here, right? This is the thing. Because you can ask for what you want in a petition. You might say, well, it's not in the rules of the council. It's not in the rules of the council. Well, it is. It's in the rules of the council. They've got to hear petitions. Well, what petitions? Petitions over the matter that's been heard. Well, what's the matter that's been heard? Well, John Simpkins wants to turn his Ponyfield into sewage works, right? Well, all right, we don't want it heard by the council. We want it heard by a jury. This is the thing. Or we want Parliament to decide. You can ask that in the petition. It's the request. The petition is a request, right? So this is the thing. Now, there is actually in modern law, they have got this still, right? If you check the Local Government Acts and the Referendums and Petitions Acts, right, you'll find that there's a model for you get a petition, right? And if you match 5% of the local electorate, you can get a local referendum, which is not even a local jury. It's actually, you ask everyone. You're actually asking everyone in the local area, not just a jury, right? But who gives you that referendum? Well, actually, it's the Secretary of State. And where's he? In the House of Commons, in Parliament, right? Because it's one of the ministers. So what's happening there in this modern law? Well, if you're asking the Secretary of State for a referendum in the local area, you're petitioning Parliament for a referendum in the local area, because that's where the Secretary of State is his authority is with Parliament, right? So you are petitioning Parliament. You're petitioning the Secretary of State in Parliament, right, in the House of Commons for a local referendum over a local matter. So why the Petitions Committee is saying that you can't do that? Because they're lying. Well, would you run the petition on the council website or on the House of Commons? Well, I'd say that if you're asking the Secretary of State, then why run it on the local council website? Then have to send it to him. Why not run it on the Parliament website? It's same thing. It doesn't really matter. The only thing is that the local council petition sites are set up to be very obstructive and hindrance. They're difficult. People can't just go onto the petition page and sign it. They've got to join the website, register, log in. It'll let anyone register in the country, but it's a long drawn out process that puts people off, and often they had to search the petitions, and let's just say that they're making it extremely difficult to make local petitioning on local council websites work very well. Nowhere near as how they're working on the Parliament website, but they're even rejecting a lot for excuses then. You should be able to run it on the House of Commons petition site. And this is the thing. Well, you might say, well, do they have to be from the local area if they sign the petition? Well, put it this way, right? Does someone have to be from the local area to buy a field in Shrewsbury? No. Does someone have to be from the local area to buy a house in Shrewsbury? No. Does somebody have to be from the area to, do anything? Can someone from the Shetland Islands buy a field? Well, firstly, they need interest. Oh, I've seen a field for sale in Shrewsbury. I'm interested in it, right? I don't live anywhere near there, but I've got a bit of money spare. I'll buy it. And now I want to turn it into a burger factory. Well, I'll have to get consent from that local council, right? Suddenly, oh, he owns land there now. Well, this is the thing. Yeah, he owns stuff there, but he's got an interest. But this is the thing. What happens if someone from Scotland likes that field in Shrewsbury and it's got an ancient site next to it or whatever? Then they've got an interest in it. You are interested in it when you generate interest in it, when people become interested in it, and that's the thing that the government don't like. The fact that suddenly you can become interested in something, right? Now, an election or a referendum is a particular process where every single resident is asked the question. So you're not going to be asked the question if you don't live there, right? So you won't vote in a referendum or an election unless you live there, because they're only asking those people there. But a petition is not the referendum. A petition is not the election. A petition is only asking for that. So your petition only is evidence that there should be an election or referendum of a particular people in a particular area, right? Because remember, and this is really, really important, right? If a man in Scotland, right, buys a field in Shrewsbury, right, and wants to turn it into a burger factory, but he doesn't live there, right, he ain't going to vote in an election in Shrewsbury or in a referendum in Shrewsbury about whether that field is going to be turned into a burger factory or not, because he don't live there, right? I'll tell you that. So anyone can sign a petition to compel there to be an election in Shrewsbury over whether a field should be a burger thing, taking into account the guy who bought it and wants to turn it into a burger thing when it's just a field with no house there when he lives in Scotland. He ain't going to vote in that election or referendum, I can tell you that, right? So can you run a petition on Parliament website and ask all of England if they're interested to help over that matter to maybe compel there to be a referendum in Shrewsbury, for example? Well, yes, because it just shows that it's an important matter, right? So you can petition the Secretary of State for a local referendum. And the thing is, this is the very important thing about it all, right? So this is the thing. The election, right? The petition is a blank sheet of paper. You can ask for what you want. It says that you can propose how the local referendum should be run, or where it should be run, or when it should be run, or what questions it should have on it. You're like designing your own thing. You're designing your own like process, competition, and asking if you can have it. It's like putting a bill through. What you're basically doing, right, is like when someone goes to Parliament and says, I want to make smoking illegal, right, and you put a draft bill or law and they get it put through, they're approving it and putting it into law or into motion. With a local council, right, you can say, right, we want to have a ward referendum or whatever you want about this field being turned into a burger factory, right? And we want it only in that ward that it concerns. Why not? It only affects those people, and it can be approved by the council or put through, but it's the Secretary of State who says you can have it or not. In fact, it isn't these people here who actually decide whether you can have that local referendum or not. It's actually the Secretary of State in the House of Commons, right? So you can ask for what you want. You can say, well, what referendum in our ward? And then, if the people oppose it, I mean, why should they be able to turn a field into a burger factory if no one in that area wants it there? Maybe then the councillors can say, well, we'll have a bigger referendum of everyone, and outvote them. But that's up to the council if they want. If the head of the council wants to, have a referendum for the entire area, maybe you could take precedence in it. But to be honest, they don't cost that much. It's something like £800 or £900 to pull a ward, right? And even if the taxpayers paid for that themselves, what's happening, right, is that the true democratic process, which actually doesn't need to cost that much money, is being hidden, undermined, cast aside, concealed. And then if the council is getting controlled by these major parties, they're making all the decisions, these people, right? And if once they've made a decision, there's no way to appeal it, and you can't appeal it. The only thing you can do is criticise them if they broke a law or didn't follow a rule and have a judicial review. Now, the thing with the judicial review is this. It's not making another decision on what they decided. It's only scrutinising it. but it's kind of scrutinising it almost like when you used to have those committees. So before they split off the criminal, the civil, and the council matters, when it was all one body, right? Well, what would you do if you didn't agree with the decision? Well, it said you could have it to a committee and then decide, right? Well, that's like going through the county court at the same level and getting them to reassess it or whatever. But they're saying that you can't actually appeal the decision, right? They're saying you can only scrutinise process or procedure. In fact, you can always scrutinise process and procedure with a bill of exception, right? You don't even need to pay a solicitor or a lawyer for a judicial review. There's a bill of exemption in the Statute of Westminster II. So if any of that, the head councillor is meant to be a justice of the peace, although they've said they're not anymore, but they still are because they've got a commission of the local council. It's effectively the same thing. They just don't call them. They can't hear criminal or civil matters, right, if they're appointed to the council, but they're still. You can actually really, rather than having a judicial review and money in a judicial review, if it's an actual point of law that you disagree with the council, you can actually draft up a bill of exemption there and then in the council and make the head of the council, right, sign it and then send it to King Charles and he summon him up and, check the law, right, to make sure he's followed the law properly. There's a hell of a lot of money being fleeced off us from these judicial reviews. And at the end of the day, the word judicial review, it's almost kind of like judicial, jurats, juries, the whole thing's meant to be decided by the people anyway, right? In this William Penn case, these eldermen are not deciding. It was the jury that decided, right? Not these eldermen. But they've scrapped the jury now for this lower bottom level because they did it following like the Luddites. When the Luddites smashed all the machines up and they didn't want to expand industry, they did a lot of petitioning, and the mill owners and all the rich people who wanted to build. If you had all these juries in the civil and council matters and criminal, they would have been acquitting all the Luddites probably more, or sympathising with them, or maybe even stopping these big people from building more and more machines and factories if they weren't getting better wages for them, because they refused to raise the minimum wage. So through the 1800s, they scrapped all the juries in these council matters and criminal and civil matters, unless it's and they only kept them for criminal and when it's serious, right? This is the thing. So there's quite a few things. So there is what's happening in the council is there's a slot to hear petitions. Now that will probably be where you would hear this tumultuous. This is probably where you would probably go to get the petition approved to go to Parliament through the head of the council, through the justice. But you could probably do it, but it was all in one body, sort of. And a lot of justices, the local magistrate, people. It wasn't like now where nobody talks to them or sees them or hears them. The King's justices going around on the circuits weren't allowed to be from a particular area, right? But it's a local magistrate, if a woman had a handbag stolen, she could go to the sheriff, and report it to him or whatever, and probably get a warrant or get the sheriff to go after them or whatever. But also they did report it to the magistrate, like, oh, the magistrate is on holiday at the moment, you need to go around to his house to tell him that Mrs. Smith's handbag's been stolen, or the sheriff, whatever. It was a lot more like that heartbeat police program, with a local village kind of, Postman Pat type thing, with the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and the magistrate kind of thing. So I've seen some petitions from 1600s, and it just got the signature on the bottom of it, like 2 constables have signed it, right? So when you get this consent from, the council or whatever, or the justice for this petition to Parliament, to the House of Commons, likely they just signed the bottom of it, I would have thought, like, you had to get 3 signatures from 3 justices. Now, I don't know whether they then sent it into Parliament from the council, or whether you would just go take it in yourself or send it. But remember, Royal Mail was only for process of government. It wasn't for the public to use, so it probably would have gone through that. But you had the right to hand it into the king. But I severely doubt that people probably weren't going to travel from Halifax, to London to hand the petition in of 20 people to the king, unless you lived in London. But you could do if you wanted to. I think that there was a lot of cases for Westminster they were having, but they didn't. They got arrested in the local area under the jurisdiction of Westminster, but they just kept them in the local area, and they could appoint a lawyer to represent them in London, rather than having the prisoner travel there, be taken there. Things like that was going on. But what I'm trying to say is, right, we're being kind of deceived at the moment with all these local councillors. Now, you might say, well, there's all these new procedures and new processes and new laws and new acts, local government acts, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, but if you actually read them all, and if you actually understand them and the little niches and clauses and so forth, there's nothing stopping you, right, asking for a jury or Parliament. And in fact, they've kind of made this local referendum thing, right? But no one they only use it for changing the structure of the council. Ironically, it's almost like joking or mocking the fact that they changed all the structure to our disadvantage and scrapped all juries. You can use it for there's no. It's a right of the subjects to petition the king on any matter. The petition's always blank, like a bill. I want to put this law through Parliament. What laws can you and can't you put through Parliament? Whatever you want. This is a thing. What can the council action or approve? Well, whatever you ask for. This is the thing. What do you want to turn a field into? A fair amusement park or a sewage work? How much money have you got? And what's the request? You might want to turn it into a pig farm. I don't know what you want to turn it into. Whatever you want. You might want to turn it into an ice cream factory. You might want to turn it into a volcano. Whatever. Depends how much money you've got and what you're asking for. You might want to turn it into a firework factory or a nuclear power plant or a cocaine factory or whatever. You'll have to ask for permission. This is the thing. Paint the town red. This is it. But the problem is that these control freaks of the council, these players, these Conservative and Labour people, these players and lawyers, let's not to forget their pals, their lawyers, they're making a hell of a lot of money. 5 councils versus the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, against Eulers expansion. When they lost, they threw it, and then they never even really tried to prove that the whole thing was illegal, because they didn't want to prove it was illegal, because then the congestion charge was illegal. They wanted to half-heartedly challenge the expansion, and had no intention of proving that the whole thing was illegal. And Jonathan Swift, the judge, had previously worked in central London for government finance, which likely involved money from the congestion charge. So he was unlikely to undo his own work. So he wasn't fit to sit that case. He had a personal background and connection to the matters that he was judging himself. That's just another example in London. But what I'm saying is, these judicial reviews are a scam. They're saying you can't appeal a decision, you can only critique it on certain points, and they can cost a hell of a lot of money. Hundreds of thousands of pounds, maybe, or tens of thousands with these lawyers. And people are trying to save up and raise money for it. Well, when it's in the public interest, yet council services are meant to be acting in the public interest of what the public want, not what the councillors want, you know. And you can petition really for a jury or the matter to Parliament, and not the councillors. But then Labour and Tory wouldn't have control of the council if you were calling in a random jury of the public, or if the Secretary of State for Transport gave you a local referendum, whether it was the entire area or just a ward. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You can have it. Because it's a creative it's actually a creative process. So it's just how they've kind of taken party political control from the public by getting the public to like vote for this party or that party, and then presuming it's because of this presumption that because Labour won, everyone is going to want to do what Labour wants in their manifesto, when they've got this council employment policy where it says that councillors are meant to be selfless. Well, if you're selfless, you yourself can't have opinion. So you yourself cannot even be affiliated with Labour or the Conservatives anymore. Almost like the Speaker of Parliament. So how are they saying that the Labour's got control of a council? If you sign a policy which means that you are selfless, right, then surely you're like the Speaker in Parliament. You're not partisan politician. So according to the employment policy, no councillor, according to that policy, can be a partisan politician because they've signed an employment contract that they're selfless. So how can you be a partisan politician? It means you've got to be purely constituency. It can only be constituency politics because you're selfless unto only your electors. But you're going on the assumption that those electors support every single thing that Labour wants, but they don't, because they can't support anything until the evidence has been seen or heard. And this is another thing. Given that the criminal court and the county court are really just subcommittees of the council itself, specialising in crime or civil law, right? Really, then really, the council cannot make an order for anything unless it's seen the evidence for it. Now, and the evidence has to be allocated to a certain hearing. Now, when you vote them in, you didn't hear all the evidence at the same time and vote on it in the ballot box. When you go into the ballot box and vote, they haven't shown you every single thing they've done. Everyone who builds anything hasn't put it on the table and their plans. It's case by case. So it's just impossible. It can't be possible because it means that they are making orders to a council based on the assumption that every elector agrees with every different thing that goes through case by case, when they can't possibly, because no one's heard the evidence for anything until it gets put before the council. So it can't be. It's like saying that it's like voting for Labour, then having a Labour jury and saying, right, we're going to acquit all Tories, right, all year, right, and then the judge is going to acquit every single Tory that gets prosecuted all year. You can't do that because you haven't had the evidence until you have the hearing on each matter. It's impossible. So it's been hijacked and perverted by partisan politics under the presumption that no one's going to oppose them. The presumption that people who didn't turn up to vote or who are other parties aren't going to oppose in any matter, or that the Labour people who voted for Labour agree with them on every single thing, when they don't. They don't. And you can't agree with anyone until you've seen the evidence for it. And And there's loads of other illegal things going on, like Wakefield Council publishing a radio show on their Facebook page called The Regeneration Show. Well, where's the Let's Not Regenerate show? They don't have a radio show they're putting on that they're saying this is the Let's Not Regenerate show, right? So they're not like, giving people who are for and against regeneration. They're actually advocating, influencing the electors to regenerate and nothing else. So this is all illegal advertising and illegal influencing of electors as well. It's absolutely and utterly, purely corrupt, and it's not the voters who are deciding case by case at all. I mean, they're letting you, put objections in and so forth, but I don't think that they're really seriously taking them seriously. And I wouldn't let those councillors vote on anything. I would petition and have a jury every time, which you can do, and it only needs a certain amount of signatures. But this is the thing. Those little ward referendums, right, they get the opinion from every single person who lives in a ward, gets their chance to have an opinion on something, and it only costs 800 or 900 quid, right? And that's not much split between 3,000 people, right? So why would you go and pay for a judicial review and get a solicitor who's going to cost thousands? And apparently you can't have an appeal. It's only on legal points, when you can do a bill of exemption to the king on a legal point if you know you're right, and it costs nothing. If that justice is, if that council have lied about the law, then you'll summon them to King Charles III, and he'll go through the law, right? This is the thing. We're being fleeced by the lawyers and solicitors who are all really Tory and Conservative and Labour people. And then, the councillors go pat them on the back, and give them elocution lessons and say, didn't we do well? This is the thing. We're being absolutely and utterly having rings run round us, purely on a presumptive partisan politics, which cannot be legal. It cannot be legal. So the petitions are really important. And then you got like Vobes, this channel, is like saying, oh, they're useless, they're worthless. No, because people don't actually understand the actual power of them and getting people behind it. Local councils have got these like petition things, but they've rigged it. Whoever's made the websites, right, has done them for all of the country, and they're very similar. And they've made it really off-putting. They've made it like, to really stop people from being able to log in, sign up, sign it, share it, access it. And also at Parliament, they're rejecting loads of petitions and saying, no, we don't know what you're asking, and all this kind of stuff, trying to put people off in other ways and means, which is a different argument about changing someone's prayer, making someone alter evidence or their statement when that's illegal as well. Your petition is your prayer and evidence and testimony. Almost like if you write a song and then your producer says, no, we can't have it like that, it's got to be like this, then it's not your song, it's co-produced. The political parties really are trying to co-produce your petitions and will. It's almost like, getting music artists and getting them to change or produce their songs how the political party wants it, and not how the artist wants it, in a way, which is not freedom of expression. And in law, you can't alter a private prayer. If it's a prayer book, then fair enough, but not in respect to persons, because the judicial oath is like without respect to persons, right? And for no favours, so they can't alter your will and testimony or your conscience in a prayer or the statement or evidence you give. It's actually illegal. Do us a favour, change that song. I'm not too keen on it. Just a minute, this is my song, well, it doesn't suit the Labour Party theme tune, you can't go on the Labour Party Christmas album. It's a bit too, jazzy, it wants to be a little bit more. No, whoa, whose song is this? No, you're not gonna get on the Labour Christmas album, with a song like that. No, 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 no. Whoa, 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 just a minute. Is my, whose song is this? I'm writing it. This is the thing. Parliament are actually getting you to change and modify your petitions, which local councils are doing it less so, but hardly anyone's seeing them because people don't really have interest in those local council petition sites anyway. But it's all they've got. It's like this Dominic Cummings is revealing all the secrets now of how it's all rigged and all the Parliament chairman board meetings are all scripted and all this. They've got some internet guy who's designed it all and worked it out like Boris or someone like that. He's clocked it all and he's like, he just made it awkward and difficult. And then they're kind of umming and ahhing about who can sign it. You've got to have an interest in the area. You've got to use the facilities in the area. What? You mean like, some Scottish guy has, got a 50 grand spare, knocking around so he can just, throw it at a field in Shropshire. What interest is that? And if he ain't got an house there, he's not going to vote in any election or referendum there, is he? So they're just lying, basically. And that's what dodgy car salesmen do, or these lawyers, they persuade you this way or persuade you that way. Oh, and then if like you really know your law, then they just say, oh no, I'm not doing it. I ain't got the capacity. They're just trying to wiggle out of it. And this is the thing with a lot of these conservative. I've just been on with that Gareth Bacon guy, about some matter to do with getting a certificate from Parliament for this or that, and he's kind of like, no, well, it's not this, it's not that. I'm like, yeah, rubbish. It's like it is. It is like there's partial, partly he doesn't fully know, but partly he's trying to. He's just trying to bull, like, he's just trying to blag it. And I'm not blagging now. This is like the truth, right? This is fact. I don't know everything about the early councils, but I've seen enough now to get a general idea. I just need to fill the gaps in, and I know about the current law, the current modern legislation does provide for petitioning the Secretary of State. And I really can't see how you can't ask for a jury, right? Because you can ask for what you want, and it's part of the framework, right? So that's essentially it. Basically, what I wanted to say. You might have to. I don't know if you can listen to it back multiple times if you'll fall asleep or whatever, but hopefully that some part of it you might understand or find interesting. But this is the thing, we need more people to say, hey, that's interesting, I might start learning about that, and we'll go find out, like what Colchester Council Watch did, and then the more people that go, hey, that's interesting, I might want to read about that as well. Let's go through all the early legislation. Let's look into the history. And then you find out, hey, just a minute, where's the jury gone? Just a minute, why come we can't petition for, this or that from Parliament? Why are you charging us loads of money for judicial reviews, and this and that? This is like, I expected to do it all myself. I'm just trying to spread a little bit of awareness about actually what's happening and how this whole kind of like Labour army or Tory thing has kind of this like, almost kind of like all the football fans with their football shirts on is kind of like disenfranchised what it actually is, which is meant to be electors. Yes, we vote for certain people, but if they're not doing, if the public are, there's a lot of groups where people are complaining, why is the council doing this? Why is the council doing that? And they all just seem to be talking in groups, but, big groups and just looking and watching at the mayhem, the demolition trucks come in, the construction things come in, and people are just like stood there and they just can't believe it, but they're just like, oh, what they're doing, what a mess, and like helpless kind of. And you hear the voices, you hear the people, oh, what are they doing, and then, you get this little. They've got this, like, a bit of this cult who's for it. Usually architects, developers, the people who are going to make money out of it. The highways department, a couple of councillors, and then all your modern young people who are like, oh, we want facilities, we want cinemas, we want McDonald's, we want drive-throughs. But the thing is, what haven't they had? They've had everything. There's a brand new football stadium, cinema, drive-through, athletics track. Every single time, the whole way through, again and again and again and again. Oh, now we need a new one. Now we need a new sports centre. Now we need a new cinema. Every single time, and when there's nothing left of the place. But they're never satisfied with it, ever. Never happy with what have they built. But they've actually had everything. And this is the thing with Labour. They always play on this claim, right? Oh, we're poor. We've got nothing. We've got no money. We're poor, right? But every single time, right? Brand new sports centre, new football pitch, new cinema, new McDonald's, new Subway, new drive-through. Every single time. Going on a cruise on holiday, going to watch a football match, going to watch Town play away, going to watch Town play home, going to watch Town play again. Every single time, all the whole way through, Labour get absolutely everything the whole way through. And what it is a bloody mess of junk food and trash, right? And the council's just, some places are lucky, Cotswolds or Tewkesbury or out Louth in Lincolnshire or some places in Norfolk or Cornwall. Some places are lucky, but in these urban areas, it's a massacre. It's absolute massacre after massacre after massacre after massacre after massacre. And the public are just stood there in disbelief. And it all goes back to the Luddites, I think, when, they petitioned for the wages to be raised, and it got refused. And then that's when they went AWOL and smashed everywhere up. And then the government said, right, we're taking away all your juries from you, and then Parliament burned down. And then it was the suffragettes who wanted the women's vote then, they were going to they took the women's vote away. So that's what's happened. So, it's political parties. It is political parties which have corrupted this country and hidden and concealed the democratic processes which are available and can be facilitated, in fact, for quite cheap. Why would anyone in their right mind pay for a solicitor for 10 grand to go into a judicial review when you can just say, right, we want a vote on it, and then just go open a polling station, right, £800, get everyone in, and then vote on it. No, we don't want it. We don't want it here. We don't want a new housing estate here, or we don't want a new, burger factory or whatever it is, 800 quid. Then everyone, you don't argue with that. If everyone votes against it, then the council, that's tough. I'm not saying everyone will vote against it. If they vote for it, then good for them, fair enough. If they vote in favour of it, then, that's what they want. But what I'm saying is, there's a hell of a lot of money, because the political parties are like, we've got these councillors, we've got control of the council, Keir Starmer, blah, 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 stick it. He hasn't got, you cannot have a manifesto, right, when every matter has to be judged on the evidence that hasn't been heard yet. It's impossible. And that's the thing. I even think the manifestos could be illegal because it's only a projection. It's almost kind of like, in a way, it's almost kind of like these companies who are suing the government because the government harms their potential profits, It's almost kind of like the independent persons, the persons opposed to Labour and the Tories, might harm the projected manifesto, That's effectively what it is, because that hasn't even been manifested yet. But it's all strategic planning departments now. And when there's strategic planning, there's strategic money, and there's highways departments, and there's roads, and there's telecom companies, and 5G, and railway lines, and so forth. And when you have a strategy, you can't have democracy, right? Unless the public are intimately involved in the strategy on each matter that comes in front of them. Otherwise, it's like it's a long shot when people don't have a say in who's throwing the ball. You know.